You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Time to Level Up podcast. Happy February. I can't believe we have already entered the second month of 2022. Kind of crazy. And I'm curious, I'm just checking in with you. How are you doing on following through on your goals? Because did you know that by January 19th, most people have already given up on their goals? I hope that's not you. I don't think it is. I think you're all super smart. So before we get started today, I just wanted to share with you a review that was recently posted on the Apple Podcast website. It's sometimes reviews are very telling for me because they help me understand what's important to you so then I can deliver better content. So if you haven't rated or reviewed the podcast, I really encourage you to go do so. It would mean the world to me. So this review, she titled her review, Mindset Matters. The biggest takeaways from Andrea and her podcast is to start with mindset. How do you want to feel? What actions can lead you to that feeling? Be ready to get uncomfortable doing the next right thing. And on the other side of this growth is a whole new journey. So thank you, Whitney, for submitting that review. And I encourage you, listeners, to also submit reviews and let me know what you love and what you'd like to hear more of. All right, so here we go. In February, I have created for you a series of podcasts centered around worthiness, self-value, value and worthiness, all the things about worth. Because this is a topic that comes up all the time. And I want to tell you what inspired me to do this. A client of mine in Committed to Growth brought up a month or two ago the fact that she wasn't taking a daily walk like she wanted to and just couldn't figure out why she wasn't doing it. And when we dug deep, what we came to the conclusion, we concluded that it was because she wasn't feeling worthy enough of taking the time out of her day to do that for herself. And then we even went further and dove deeper and figured out that really she sees her productivity as her productivity is tied to her worth. So if she were to take 30 minutes out and go on a walk, that would be 30 less minutes that she was actually working. And to her, that then kind of put her in the maybe I'm not worth it category, because then people would look differently upon her business because maybe she hadn't gotten as much done in her business that day as she wanted to. So I don't know if this sounds familiar to you, but it's prompted me to create and develop a series of podcasts and some content all around worthiness. And this is the first podcast in a series that I want to share with you today. So let's dive in. Let's dive right into business value and self-value. And I want to explain this as the value that you have as a human. That's your self-value. We're going to call your value your human worthiness today. So value and human worthiness, or self-value and human worthiness, they're interchangeable for today's discussion. And I also want to give a shout out to Stacey Bayman, because she's the one that really, really helped me solidify this concept in my own brain. Okay, so there's your self-value or your worthiness. And then there's the value you create to make money. And that's what we're going to call business value or professional value. Now, we all get confused about the value we have as humans and the value we create in our business. And the value we create in our business is the value that turns into clients and money. Okay. But some of you all get confused about worthiness and business value, or self-value and business value. And guess what? When you're confused, it costs you money and sleep. So guess what? We're going to try to resolve all of this today. So if your human value declines, or you start to think about yourself as unworthy, you really stop showing up for your business and your work and your colleagues and your clients. And you don't like your life very much. So this often happens when you make the value you've created in your professional life, aka the money you've made, mean things about you and your value as a human, or your worthiness. So you tie this professional value, this business value, to your self value or your worthiness as a human. And this also happens when you make other people's reactions to your profession or your business or your work performance mean something about you and your value or worthiness as a human, right? We start to make what other people think, or what we think they think, mean something about us. So I'm going to give you an example of this. If no one buys from you, or no one becomes your client in 6 months, okay, or if you don't get a raise each year, you may start to think of yourself as a failure. Failure then becomes how you identify yourself. And then that is equal to what you would consider your human value or worthiness. All right. So let's say that 5 people showed up for my webinar that I did last month. Or let's say no one attended the meeting I was running. And I make that mean no one wants what I have to offer, or they don't think what I have to say is going to be important enough for them to attend. I sometimes may make that mean that no one wants me as a human. Does this sound like you? I also see this confusion around worthiness as a human and the value created in your professional life when clients tell me that they need to work on their worthiness before they can go make more money, or before they can raise their rates, or before they can ask for a raise. So think about this. Is this you? Do you say things like, I can't make money, or I can't put myself out there, or I can't do a live stream, or I can't make an offer, or I can't raise my rates, or I can't ask for a raise or promotion because I'm really struggling with my worthiness? So if you believe this, that you're struggling with your worthiness, what this means is that you believe you have to be worthy as a human to make money or to ask for the raise. And if you have to be worthy to make money, it also means you aren't worthy if you weren't making money now. And this will get you in a lot of trouble, my friends. But when you start associating worthiness with how much money you're making or you're not, everything in your business and career is going to feel like it has very high stakes. So sometimes I ask the question, like, what's at stake if you don't address this? Okay, what's at stake if you don't address getting a grip on your worthiness is money, Okay. You're not going to make as much money, or you're not going to see the success you want, or you're not even going to get to go on that walk every day. And that whole side of your life will start to feel heavy and complicated and burdensome because you won't want to keep doing something that consistently brings you to face your unworthiness. That will feel like a terrible idea. So why would I even include the walk on my to-do list if it never happens because I feel like I need to keep working in order to feel worthy? Or why do I even want to go out there and make more offers if I don't think I'm worth it, if people don't want to take what I have to offer? Okay, so let's discuss this. Let's go even a little deeper. And here's what I believe. I believe that we are all inherently worthy. You were born worthy. You were born 100% worthy. And this worthiness that you were born with, it never goes away. It's part of who you are. It's part of who we are as humans. Now, you might argue with me and find evidence that this statement that you're 100% worthy is not true. Okay. But I want to entertain the thought that if this were true, how much more would it serve you to believe you were just born with all the worthy, it's like a thing, all the worthy you would ever need. And it would never, ever go away, nor would you have to add to it or refill the worthy bank because you had 100% of what you needed forever. Okay, so I believe that you are 100% worthy. You are inherently worthy. You are born with worthiness. And here's the next thing I believe about our value as a human or worthiness. It truly is in the eye of the beholder. Meaning, if you don't see it, your worthiness, no one else will see it. Now, I've mentioned before how our brains are always trying to seek evidence to support our beliefs, whether the belief is I'm worthy or I'm not worthy. So in reality, you create your own reality by choosing what you want to believe. And these two beliefs, that you are inherently 100% worthy, and that two, your self-value or worth is in the eye of the beholder, they're going to show up everywhere in your life. They show up in the way you interact with others and the way you interact with others in your professional life, all aspects of your life. It's going to show up. Now, think back to the episode I did with my client, Veronica, and we talked about the wheel of life and all the different aspects of our lives. And she noticed that when she started to feel worthy or notice her self-value in one aspect, all aspects were impacted. So if you are feeling unworthy, then it will show up in all aspects, in how you make offers in your business and how often you might make an offer and how much you put yourself out there, how often you take risks. Okay. And then the chances of you making money or going out on a walk every day are slim. Okay. The chances of you making money or working towards goals in other aspects of your life, if you are coming from the belief that you are not worthy or you don't see yourself as worthy, it's not in your eye as the beholder, the chances of you then making progress are super slim. So here's the thing. What if we go to the place of believing that worthiness is a feeling or an emotion that's created by your thoughts? So worthiness is a thing in the sense that it's a feeling or an emotion. Okay. Which means if it's a feeling or emotion, you get to choose to feel worthy just by choosing what you want to think. Because if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that our thoughts trigger our feelings. And feelings trigger actions or inactions that lead to results. So if you think worthiness is a state of being, you are right. In that when you get in the habit of thinking and feeling a certain way, you create worthiness and show up as worthy. You are worthy. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. If you think of worthiness as a state of being, it's just the way of it, then you are right in that when you get in the habit of thinking and feeling a certain way, you create worthiness and show up as worthy. You are worthy. So our brains like to tell us that worthiness is a thing external of us. Okay, so it's like a noun, it's out there, it's a thing. And either you have it or you don't. And it's kind of elusive. And most of the time it's out of reach. You can't buy it on a shelf. So it's just not even worth trying to get. It's a lost cause. And it slides into the category of not figure outable. But I believe that everything is figure outable. It's all a matter of choices. The choices we make, the thoughts we choose to create a feeling. Okay? Because worthiness is not external of us. It's just a feeling that we create, and we can create it by choosing our thoughts, which means doing a series of models. Okay. So it's like, I like to think of it as if we have a big pad of white sticky paper, like the huge kind that might go on an easel, and we're in a conference room, and I have lined the walls with of the conference room with this big white sticky paper. And on each piece, we create a model. We have circumstances that trigger thoughts, that trigger feelings, lead to actions, and then create a result. And on each piece, we just put down a new model, and we go through and we have a series of models, a series of new thoughts, new thought on each page that leads to a new result on each page that will trigger the next model, just one at a time. And this is how we are going to figure out what thoughts we need to create that feeling of worthiness. Okay. It's just like 1 minute you're sad, and then the next you have worked through the sad to neutral and then to happy, and you pass through unworthy on your way to worthy. All right. And if we're going to agree that worthiness is a state of being or a feeling, that means that we may feel worthy in one moment and unworthy in the next based on our thoughts. But if we want to be consistent day in and day out and be in this worthy state, then we need to work on how we handle situations that challenge our thoughts, that want to push us back to unworthy. Like when we don't get the promotion or the new client or get chosen for the team, or want to take time to go to yoga. Okay. We might state our thoughts as facts, like they didn't have qualifications, like we might state our thoughts as facts. Like, I don't have the qualifications for the new job, or I'm not fast enough to be the lead runner. Okay. But those are just thoughts. Those thoughts, however, I might argue, don't lead to unworthy, like our brain wants to tell us. They lead to insecure, and then to the action of apologizing or making excuses or brushing it off. Okay. So really, really pay attention to your thoughts that you think are creating unworthiness, and pay attention that maybe they're not creating unworthiness, but what they're doing is that they're creating insecurity. Like we're not secure in our running ability, so we wouldn't be the lead runner, or we're not secure in the job situation, so we would never ask for a promotion. But what can happen is if we notice that the feeling we're having is not necessarily unworthy, but insecure, we can, if we can't separate that out, if we can't separate out insecure from unworthy, what happens is that we start to use this against ourselves, and we go back to thinking this kind of black and white, worthy, unworthy is outside of us and external, and we just have to keep gunning for it like it's the golden ring. You remember those carousels that used to go around and you were on a horse and you'd reach for the golden ring? Well, it's like we keep reaching for this golden ring of worthiness. But my friends, reminder, worthiness is created in our minds. And most of the time, unworthiness is made up of a multitude of thoughts and feelings all clumped together under the unworthy category. Because guess what? It's way more efficient that way. It's way more efficient to clump all of these thoughts under unworthy than separate them out into insecure or confused. Okay. So if you're struggling with this, I urge you to separate out your thoughts as if you were doing a series of models and work through them one thought or one model at a time. That's something that you can take away from this podcast and practice. Okay. And feel free to DM me if you want help with the practice. Okay. So let's move this back just to switch gears just a bit. Let's move back to your business or your career. Okay. You're being able to help someone or to lead a company or to provide a service or to manage others. This all goes back to the way in which you think about yourself. This is the root of it, your self-value, your worthiness. Okay. You think that all those things about helping other people, leading a company, providing a service, managing others, that it should go back to the way in which you think about yourself. Okay. But here's the thing. Those things have nothing to do with your self-value or worthiness. Okay. It is not inherent, the worthiness you create in your professional life. Your self-worth or self-worthiness is inherent, but your professional value or business value, that is not inherent. You create that value. Okay. You create the interface between you and the client or the customer or the colleague. Okay. That has nothing to do with your human worthiness. I know, shocker. Okay. So you can help people, you can lead companies, you can provide services, you can manage others without you even feeling valued. I know, right? You don't have to feel valued. You don't have to feel worthy. Now, this isn't all rainbows and unicorns either. Okay. Like, it's not as if like, well, one day I'll find out the truth. Okay. One day someone will come out of the conference room and say, we've decided, we've looked into the matter, and you are really not worthy of your job or your business or your title. Okay. This is not how this works. We fear that is the truth, that one day we will get found out. And, it's kind of like imposter syndrome. We have a whole episode on imposter syndrome in a week or two. So stay tuned on that. But the truth, the truth is out there. The truth is not out there. The truth about your worth is internal. Okay. Now, if you want to take this a step further, if it weren't internal and worthiness was something that you were deemed, okay, or your business value or professional value was, had to be earned through your worthiness as a human, what that would mean is that there are already people out there wearing a badge that says, I'm worthy. And there'd be other people out there wearing badges that say, I'm not worthy. Okay. And stay tuned, because one day we'll reveal which one you are. If you don't have a badge yet, we're going to reveal it. You're either worthy or unworthy. It's not how this works. Your business value or professional value is made by you. You create that value in your business. That is different than your self-value or worthiness as a human. So if we talk about creating value in our business or career, I do believe that this is something that we honestly create. It is not inherent. Okay, you aren't born with it. Remember, worthy is a feeling you get from what you think about yourself. That is your self-value. Business value that creates money, or what I sometimes call professional value, is created by the way you think in the ideas that you create in the world and by how you show up. Okay. And then that all leads to the level of transformation or service that you give people when they work with you and while they work with you, even before they work with you. Okay. It's your ability to help solve their problems. Okay. So your business value, professional value, it's tied to your ability to help them solve problems. It has nothing to do with you being born worthy. Okay. So your thoughts and feelings in the professional world lead to the action of creating value, and the value created is the result or what is in the R line. So think about the last interaction you had with a client or a customer or a colleague. What did you do? What did you do? You shared something with them. That's an action. You had insight. You created some insight. That's an action. You asked a question. Action. You provided a solution. Action. And your action produced a result, a transformation for them, either in their thinking or solving their problem. So those actions were all driven by how you feel. Totally true. But you didn't have to feel worthy in order to ask a question or solve the problem. What you had to feel maybe was powerful or confident or assured or determined or trusting. Okay. So your business or professional value that you create can be done without feeling worthy as a human. I repeat, creating value in your professional world can be done 100% without feeling worthy. All right. Here's another way to kind of look at it. And this is Stacey Bayman taught me this. Okay. If money is created through value and value is created through thinking, there are many people who feel worthy, but don't have a thought at all that they want to create money or solve problems. And they may not even start every day thinking that they want to create more value for the world, or they don't feel challenged to create more money than they have now. And then thus they never create value that turns into money. Okay. But these same people, they still have the feeling or the emotion of worthiness, of self-value. All right. Now, then there's like the uber wealthy, the billionaires who have created a lot of value, but feel so unworthy. So what we really have are two different models there. Right. So here's an example. Like my husband, who is a physician, let's say he treats patients and he cures them every day and he gets paid for that. But there might be days when he still feels completely unworthy of the honor of treating them. Okay. Or for me, I could coach you up and help you create transformation in your own life, and you could pay me for it, but I could feel completely unworthy as a human. Now, here's what I don't want you to think you have to do when you finish listening to this episode. Okay, this is not homework. You don't have to spend tons of time uncovering all of your deep, dark secrets and beliefs around worthy and unworthy that are rooted in your childhood, in your last relationship, or the way your dad talked to you, or your bank account. Okay, the good news, here's the good news, is that you could just be one thought away from creating business value that turns into cash. And you don't have to dig into your deep, dark past and all of this feeling of unworthiness if it's there. Because I repeat, you don't have to feel worthy in order to make money or to create business value, or honestly, even take a bath by yourself. Okay. You don't need to feel value to create value for others or even for yourself. So if you believe that you were just one thought away from creating value that turned into cash or a promotion or a better life for yourself, and you don't have to dig deep into your past before this happens, what will happen is that you can just start right now. There's no more waiting or feeling worthy or lack thereof. Okay. That's not a problem. We like to make it a big problem, and it's just not, because we're just one thought away from feeling worthy. Okay. So there's no struggle with worthiness. Like it's outside of us. Or like you're in a tug of war with it. When you approach creating business value one thought at a time, you can change the way that other people live their lives because you're giving them transformation. You also can approach things one thought at a time in creating the feeling of worthiness for yourself. Okay. And when you do that work, that's going to change your thought patterns everywhere in all aspects of your life. So you can be down and out living week to week and still grow a business if you focus on the thought that you are selling something that people need. And those are thoughts that drive your business. And maybe it's, I'm good at sales and I'll figure this out, or I know how to help people because I have a coaching tool called the model. And even though my results haven't shown up in the way I want yet, maybe that there's not money in the bank account, the amount that I want yet, I know this works and I'm going to bring it to everybody that I see. And you can drive value in your professional life while still feeling unworthy or shitty in your personal life. It's two different models. Okay. You can have both worthiness and unworthiness models happening at the same time. And you can have models that create value for you and models that keep you creating value for others, because we are capable of believing things and not believing things all at the same time. So I want you to think about that paper along the wall in the conference room, the series of models, which are thoughts that lead to feelings that lead to actions and create results. You have so much more power over it when you see them as different from each other. When you see business value and self-value as different, you can get to work on business value now and start making money, even if you don't have thoughts that create the feeling of self-value or worthiness. So I will say, what I'm not saying is don't go out there and not work on your worthiness. Okay. Go work on creating that feeling of worthiness, of self-love and value. Do it. Okay. But don't do it thinking that you have to do that first, because it is the only way in which you will create money or business value. Okay. Don't say to yourself, once I feel worthy, then I can make money. So the thing I'm going to do to build my business is work on my worthiness. Don't do that. You don't need to do that. You're delaying things. Okay. It's not the fastest way to create professional or business value or to get money in the bank. Okay. Even if you work on your worthiness for 100 years, all right, you can still make money. All right. But what it will depend on is what you do every day with the thoughts that lead to worthiness or unworthiness, with the thoughts that lead to confidence that will turn into you creating value in the world. It will depend on the specific thoughts you have that lead you to a feeling that lead you to take action, and whether or not that turns into money or not. Okay, so work on your worthiness. Work on it. But work on it because it will help make life experiences better. And work on thoughts that will create the feelings of power and confidence and determination, because those are the thoughts. Or work on the thoughts that create those feelings of power and determination and confidence, because those feelings will then create business value and give your colleagues and clients and customers transformation ahead of time, and have you helping others and serving others, because that's what leads to money. Okay, my friends, I hope this was helpful. You are all 100% worthy. You were born worthy. You all have the ability to create thoughts that lead to feelings of confidence, power, and determination that will help you create business value, solve problems, ask questions, create transformation. But those two models are two different ones, two totally different things. But you have power to create both of them. All right. Reminder, if you want to 10x this work, and when I say 10x, what I mean is elevate yourself, give yourself an upgrade. Learn how to get your act together in all aspects of life. First, you kind of have to get your act together personally, almost before we can work on the business stuff. But that's work too. So come join us inside Committed to Growth. I would love to have you this month as we work on worthiness for the whole entire month. It is not too late to join us. Head over to AndreaLiebross.com/apply. Fill out that mini application and you'll get all the details of how to get started in your inbox. Okay, my friends, have a great week. Until next week, remember, now is the time to level up. Thanks for listening to the Time to Level Up podcast with me, your host, Andrea Liebross. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to this episode, I encourage you to take a screenshot and share it with them. Okay, now what about you? You've listened to the podcast, and if you now know that you're ready to upgrade your life, upgrade your business, upgrade you, then stop being only a listener and start being a liver, living that upgraded life. Head over to my website and schedule a call. Right there on that call, we'll start changing the way you think and act so that you can have the freedom to achieve the impossible in life and business and have the resources to do it. You deserve an upgrade. Let's do it.